one of the main topics that we're going to talk about today is really how SongVest creates this new level of fandom called invested fans. But first, what does SongVest do? You know, what we really allow you as an artist and a label is to create this new breed of invested fan by selling shares of music royalties. And we believe that this new level of fan is not only incentivized to do things for the artist, but we can also create a new level of evangelists that can actually do things for the artist as well. So it's not just a passive combination that we're creating here between the artist and the fan. And we do that via SongShares. And so just at a high level, what are SongShares? SongShares are not NFTs, just to be clear. There was certainly a huge amount of buzz around NFTs and fractionalization and what they could do and what the blockchain can do. But at the end of the day, NFTs and blockchain is not recognized by the US as legal securities or even legal contracts. So when I had this idea going all the way back to 2006 and 2007 of creating a stock market in essence for music, you know, we had to wait until there was a regulatory path for us to actually make that happen. And it wasn't until this thing called the Jobs Act was not only created, but then implemented by the SEC, which allowed us to create SongShares via this Regulation A plus SEC qualified offering to finally allow us to do it not just the right way, but the legal way, and a way that makes this a true security so that we can sell this to the general public. And we're the first marketplace to ever do it. We got our first qualification back towards the end of 2021. We spent last year really refining the model. We had traditionally been selling mostly music catalogs, not artist first, but songwriter, publisher, and producer first. And so we took all of last year to make sure that we could refine the model. We've sold several of these securities already. We've made payouts to investors. So we feel like 2023 is really the year for us to launch this to the artist and label community and really start to gain traction in this new model. So if you think about kind of the history of music, you know, especially as a collectible or memorabilia piece, you know, unless you owned something like, you know, a first edition vinyl or some other type of memorabilia, maybe it was a staged used guitar, things like that, there really hasn't been a good collectible asset class inside of music. You know, if you look at, for example, professional sports, you know, everyone's familiar with like baseball cards, and, you know, you actually had an opportunity then if you bought an up and coming rookies baseball card that if they did really well, that you could, you know, benefit from selling that card at a later date. And now with SongShares, we actually give that same type of model, but even better, to allow music fans to invest not only in the artists, but in the songs themselves. And instead of waiting, you know, 20 years to figure out whether that artist is going to be successful or not, you start receiving royalties right away. And of course, we say in a legal way. So this is the first time that you've really been able to get, you know, the artist and the fan closer and closer together. You know, this is not Patreon. This is not, you know, pre-buying like in a Kickstarter campaign. You know, this is really bringing the artist and the fan as close together as possible to create this brand new relationship. And so with a song share, like what really is it, like from an artist perspective? And what that means is that an artist or label can now choose really any percentage of any royalty stream. excuse me, I'm getting over a cold for like the last 3 weeks, it seems, so I apologize. And so that percentage could be a percentage of mechanicals. That could be on the artist side. It could be on the label side. It could be a percentage of writer share. It could be a percentage of publishing. As long as we can legally create a letter of direction between the artist or whoever's selling and SongVest, then we can package those royalties up and sell those to fans. And this could be old songs, especially if you're a legacy artist. You might want to start with older songs and then, migrate further and further up until new songs. So either one works in this particular model. And then I think the biggest thing is this model, we believe, will earn the highest multiple that an artist, songwriter, publisher can get for their catalog. Because not only do you not have to sell all of it, but we believe that fans, because they see this as a collectible, and they also see the additional utility that we'll talk about that can be associated with this, that the multiples can far out exceed anything they might get from, say, Hypnosis or Primary Wave, because the fan isn't price sensitive, to what the investment is and the return is, as opposed to what an investor may look at. And also, when we talk about multiples that are 15 or 20 or 50, you can think of a mid-tier artist that really isn't even making a lot, on their royalties from a streaming perspective, but yet they tour and they have thousands and thousands of fans. In that particular case, you might sell 50% of a song that's only making $1,000 a year. And at that rate, the multiples could be, it could be phenomenal. I mean, they could be a 50, a 75, 100 multiple. So from a financial aspect, there's a lot of value in what we're talking about. And then what we do is we back into that, the SongShares, meaning the amount of SongShares we sell will be dependent on usually starting around $100 a share. And what's really cool is, I'm not going to get into it too much here, but what's really cool is the fans can dictate what that price starts at. I mean, what that price ultimately ends at, because it starts at 100, but we have an auction mechanism that allows it to go to 110, 120, 130. So there's an opportunity where the fans are actually setting the ultimate price.
Well, and Sean,
then
Sean, really quickly, I know that's a really good point. I know you don't want to spend too much time on that, but for an active and engaged fan base, that becomes a really, really incredible value proposition, right? So the more engaged an artist fan base is, ultimately the the higher that multiple can go.
Correct, exactly. And then the last two things are really interesting because first, we can include utility. So whether it's a meet and greet, backstage passes, tickets, not webinars, but Zoom calls, things like that, all of that utility can be bundled in, and they can be tiers as well. So it can be, if you buy one SongShare, maybe there is no utility, but if you buy 5 or 10, so we can add as much utility as the artist or label would like. And then the other cool thing is this bundling of tangible things, because I mean, everyone's been on a Zoom call or been into, the office of somebody in the music industry, and without a doubt, there's that gold record that's hanging on the wall. So we believe that our invested fans will also like to have that gold record, and that could be something very simple or something very ornate. It could be bundled with the SongShare, or it could be an upsell that's offered only to people that have purchased. So a lot of opportunities to generate different packages depending on who the artist is. Whoops, I went the wrong way. So probably the most interesting thing that we see is, what does this mean when we say we create a new breed of invested fan? So if you look at historically, super fans are great. It's a small cadre, super fans that love the music, love the artist, always go to the shows, etc. And you can monetize that. You can give them VIP ticket packages, exclusive merch, etc. But also those super fans can be fickle. If you don't continuously put out new music, or you don't tour, they can tune out. They can go to another artist. And so what we believe is, when we talk about invested fans, is that it's like this new level of super fan. If you think of a super fan as the platinum card, we think of the invested fan as the Visa Black card, and not only is the super fan more engaged in that they have a vested interest in helping promote you as an artist. But we also see that where those invested fans can actually increase in size as opposed to what you would normally see with your super fans. Because, for example, I'll use my example. I may never be a super fan of any artist, but I would be an invested fan of tens, if not hundreds of artists. Because it's a different value proposition to me. So you might have, 1,000 or 5,000 super fans, and we might be able to create 10,000 to 50,000 invested fans. And so nowhere have we ever created, in all of the ecosystems where, you feel this vested interest in helping promote the artist, because you actually have a monetary benefit. You're getting paid those royalties on a quarterly basis. And now we also have a way for the artists to engage with you as they go out and do more things. Jesse, did you want to add to that?
No, that covers it.
So when we look at this new level of invested fans, as I just mentioned, we allow at scale to be able to create these new fans through SongShares, because again, it's not just a one and done. This could be legacy songs, because you're doing it song by song. This could flow through to new drops, all the way over to songs that are just now getting ready to be released. So we don't see this, as just kind of a one and done. This is a long-term commitment to work with the artists. And as I just said, we believe that there's an exponentially bigger pot of fans that we can engage as invested fans, as opposed to just the super fans. And the other thing that I talk about is, how do we move from just a passive super fan to an evangelist? I got to say that right. And that's what we believe that we can create here, is a mechanism for the artist, the manager, the marketing team at the label to really engage with SongVest to these invested fans to do things, whether it's when you're dropping new music. I can envision, as we build out our technology platform to, for example, be able to hook up all of these invested fans' social media channels, so that the artist can come to their dashboard and go, oh, I'm getting ready to drop a new song, boom, click a button, and all of that is automatically fanned out to all of our invested fans, all of their social networks, etc. So there's a ton of things that we believe, as we grow this model, that we can create between artist and fan that moves things in ways that have never been done before.
Yeah, and that's a very good point as well. The ability to add invested fans to the pot, right? So a recent SongShares offering campaign that that we closed, we engaged the artist, engaged their socials directly, engaged email marketing, provided a lot of front end marketing support, generated some additional general awareness, and the artist brought their fans, but we know that we brought invested fans as well from our direct marketing database internally of investors. So we're adding to the pool there.
Yeah, what Jesse's saying is really important. As our platform grows, we will continue to be able to bring more and more people from our platform, not just your particular fan base, because again, that's really focusing on your fans, your super fans. And just as I mentioned before, I may not be part of that network at all. But if I'm on the SongVest platform and I see, whether it's Beyonce or somebody else where, again, I'm not normally engaged, and I see that come up for sale, then we call that a fan multiplier, right? That it's not just your 10,000 fans, it's the 80,000 fans or however many folks that, have participated in the SongVest platform previously, that are going to come and look at buying those SongShares as well. So really, if we look at the journey, right, we don't see this as something that you're just going to do once. It is creating a long-term partnership with your fans through these SongShares. Whether that's unlocking revenue, motivating the fans, again, the marketing support that Jesse said that we do, we're not in this just to allow you to list it and then we go away. We're constantly going to be there to look at, how can we not only engage your fans to sell a particular song share, but it's also about that continuous journey. Like, what are you doing and how can we help you engage those fans in the future, even if you're not doing a particular drop? So those are all the things that we see as far as the ecosystem that we're providing to artists beyond just, hey, we're here to sell a particular song share.
Absolutely. And the marketing support really kind of goes beyond the scope of this webinar. But our perspective on that is that, again, we're here to, to help you grow that and to really facilitate that relationship. And so we're going to treat each song share drop as, like a single release or an album release, where there will be some pre-launch marketing efforts. There will be, a phase where the fans can jump in and engage and bid up the price. There will be a post-release, marketing support as well. So we're going to bring to the table additional visibility on our website, our direct marketing email list, paid socials, and it just depends on the artist and the audience, and in terms of the incentives and what we need to produce and how we're going to tap into that to create some general awareness about the offering.
Yep, excellent. Just real quick on the process, this is a very busy slide, but at the end of the day, to get started, what we do is we do a proposal or analysis. So it depends on whether you're providing us with actual data from your distributor or label. And once we put that proposal together and we agree on kind of what it is that we're going to sell and the go-to-market around it, then we list those shares. Fans can then come in and purchase the shares, and then we take care of all of this, right? So from the legal, from the regulatory stuff, from paying the fans, the royalties, like, you don't have to worry about any of this stuff in the background. We take care of all of that for you. So we do have an end-to-end process that handles all of this from start to finish.
And I think it is important to just reiterate that we are fractionalizing and securitizing the royalty stream itself, right? So if you are selling a song shares offering for a master recording, you suddenly don't have 1,000 new fans that have to chime in on a sync license request.
That's exactly right. I mean, the payment, just not to get too far into the weeds, but the payment comes to us. The fans actually own that. What we're securitizing is a piece of the contract. So it's not like they have rights, audit rights or anything like that. All of that is, compartmentalized. So the agreement is really just between the artist, the label, with SongVest. That's the relationship. And then we take care of handling all the payments, et cetera, communication with all of the new invested fans on the back end. So just to kind of sum up, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions, but next steps, if you wanted to engage, we really do make it super easy. The bar that we kind of like to talk about is if you have 500, fans, your core fans that are willing to spend $100 each on the coolest new thing in the world, which is, being a part of the band, being a co-owner in a song. Then that's really the bar, right? Yeah, and that again is not the bar is not how much you're making on streaming. It's like, how engaged is your fan base? Like, do you tour? Can you sell tickets? Can you sell merch? Like, those are all of the things, and I'm just talking about the minimum, right? Because that's usually going to be the first question is like, well, how am I big enough to participate? So just to give you an idea of how big you need to be to participate. That's really kind of the bar. And then the next thing is, as far as getting a proposal, that can be pretty simple as well. I mean, what's great now is we have this wonderful tools, or a ton of different tools out there that we can do our own research on you. We use Chartmetric. That allows us to easily go in and see, okay, what do your socials look like? What do your songs look like? What do your streaming look like? So we can easily use that to come back to you and say, hey, here's some options that we see. So it's very light touch from your side, meaning artist or label side, to say, hey, I just want to check it out and see what kind of proposal you could put back in front of us. So that's really it. We tried to make this as tight as possible, and happy to take as many questions as everyone might have.
That's great. Thank you, Sean and Jesse, for getting through that. This is something, like we said, we're just super excited about and ready to really roll it out wide scale and scale up. We've proven the model. We have a lot of things going on sale before the end of the month, and looking forward to what we can get done in the upcoming year. So we've gotten a few questions, Sean, that I've answered in the Q&A. One, they're talking about, can independent artists work with us, or if I already have an advance, is that something that I can still do with SongShares?
Yeah, sure. So I'll answer both of those. As far as independent artists, for sure. So whether you're using CD Baby or DistroKid, whether you're even using something larger like the Orchard, we can work with all of those. Again, what it really comes down to is each platform's a little bit different, but usually we figure out a way in which to work with all of those platforms in some form or fashion. From an advance perspective, there's two ways to look at advances. If the advance is for example recoupment with the label, then that I'm gonna table that for a second. But if the advance is an advance through a third-party company, then usually what we need to do is to pay off that advance. So in that particular situation, we would try and run a campaign that would allow you to pay off the advance, of course, make some additional money on top of that, and we can handle all of that back-end work for you to find out what the payoff is, and make sure, again, that it's financially beneficial to you. If you're unrecouped, then that's one of those things where it's more a conversation that we should have, not only with you as an artist, but also with the label. Because what we would try and do is try and work some kind of deal with the label and say, okay, maybe it's unrecouped, and what we can do is still carve off, a single song or a couple songs to see if there's a way that the label would allow us to do that, because of course it helps the label get recoupment, and of course it allows you, the artist, and the label to engage all of these new invested fans to do things on your behalf. So if you're unrecouped with the label, I wouldn't say don't reach out to us. It might be a little bit more complex conversation, but it's one where we think we can show the value to the label as well.
Absolutely. We're super flexible, like Sean said. You can pick one song, you can pick just streaming, you can pick just your PRO royalties. We'll work with anyone to put together a proposal that'll work best for you. Mm-hmm. We have a question about the $50,000 minimum. So we have 500 fans, $100 a piece. How much does the artist get out of that amount?
Yeah, sure. So the way that the model works is you can't necessarily think of it as a commission on our part, because the way that the process or the discussion that we're going to have with you as the artist is to set whatever it is that you want to make. So if you want to make $75,000, or let's make it easy, if you want to generate $100,000, then you're going to get $100,000, because the way that our pricing model works is we take that 100,000 and then our fees are on top of that. So it might be 116,000 ultimately that we sell to the fans, because the fans, the investors, take the burden of the commission. So we certainly make money on the deal, but it's paid by the buyers. It's not coming out of a commission to your sellers. So our fee on top of that is 16%. And sometimes there's some legal fees and things like that are part of the offering. But again, our conversation with you is going to be around what is the number that you want, and then that's the number that we're going to give you. So don't think that we're going to come back and say, oh, of that 100,000, we're going to take some kind of commission out of it.
Absolutely. The paperwork, because we're SEC qualified, is very buttoned up, and you'll know the amount that will be paid out on these with no hidden fees or anything like that. And that will all be done before we get started.
Yes.
We have a question about Jukebox and the company that Scott Cohen has created. Do you know anything about them, and what is any opinion or positioning?
Yeah, so I guess the first thing is, I think it's a great idea because, right, it follows in line with exactly what we're trying to do as well. And, working with the SEC, they've got a long road ahead, and it's a good one, right? Because, you've got to get all of this stuff qualified. But it sounded like in the last interview I saw with him that they're more focused on catalogs and kind of the songwriter side, which is great. That's where we've traditionally been. And we're more focused on the artist-centric side. So I think it's a very good complementary model that again, both can coexist together. If they're more focused on back catalogs and songwriters and publishing, that's awesome. I think we're more geared towards the fan side and how that relationship between artist and fan can coexist together.
Absolutely. Jesse, this one might be for you. Do we have any partnerships with streaming services to advertise, for example, Spotify or an artist merch store?
Yeah, absolutely. So for traditional paid spend, right, we can go to any channel that we think the artist audience is, right? So if an artist is very Spotify heavy, right, we can go there and we can buy media targeted to Spotify audiences. If we feel that the artist audience is only on Facebook, we can go there and help generate some general awareness. So really, depending on where the artist's audience is, we can help craft a go-to-market strategy for each phase of the offering that we think will generate some general awareness and ultimate sell-through for the offering.
Yeah, we've even done YouTube campaigns, targeting right on the artist channels as well. Yep. So we've got a lot of ideas and ways to help make sure these are all a success. A question: can an artist sell shares and NFT type items, for example, guitars, original songwriting notes, artwork, etc.?
Yeah, so I think those are two different things, though. Any perk that you want to add, again, which could be tiered, like you could say, hey, if you buy 100 SongShares, then you get this signed stage used guitar, right? So any way that you want to tier and add your own perk, even if it's a physical perk, then of course we can add that to the offering. We can also add NFTs to the offering, again, as a perk. So if you had unique NFTs and you wanted every buyer of a SongShare to get a unique digital NFT, you can. They're not tied together in any way. They're totally separate. And you can think of an NFT just like any other perk, whether you created a plaque or certificate or what have you. So yes, we can work with NFTs and with, again, any other kind of physical perk that you might want to add.
Yeah, and to build onto that really quickly, to Sean's point, exactly, it falls in that category of additional perk, right? So once that NFT is claimed, for example, right, the underlying security does not go with it. Those are divorced completely. So if you were to resell that NFT, the underlying security would not transfer with it.
Correct.
Absolutely. We are following the SEC rules, and they are very clear about the NFT is just a perk and separate from actually owning SongShares.
Correct.
We've gone through all of the questions that I've received in the Q&A. Everyone that's here, please feel free to answer questions. We have time to go through them and let us know if there's, any other things that you need. You've got Sean's email address on the screen there. Of course, you can also email our support. I should have put that. Drew, will you ask where people can email us, and I'll put it in the Q&A and answer your question, so people have an email address straight to our support team and can start answering more questions for you as well there. If Drew's still on here.
Yeah.
And absolutely, it's really easy to reach us at songvest.com. You can reach us there, and we're easy to find on LinkedIn or anywhere else.
Thank you. So in the Q&A now, I just typed that into the answer there. So please copy and paste that. If you want to reach out to our team, we'll open a ticket. We'll make sure to follow up. New question coming in. How much does an artist need to earn to be deemed worthy of selling?
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, it's not a function of earnings on, say, streaming. There's very successful bands that go out and tour and make most of their money on touring, and their streaming numbers don't necessarily have to be that huge. It's really all about your fans. If you can, again, I go back to that bar of 500 fans. It's not to say that we're not going to, again, add fans to it, but for you as a core, you've got to know that you have those 500 fans that would be interested in spending $100 and that we can reach them, or that in conjunction with you, we can reach those fans. And in reality, that means that you have to have more than 500 fans, because of course, not everyone is going to purchase. So it's all about you and the fans that you currently have. It's not about how much you're making on streaming.
Yeah, absolutely. We have questions about sharing this webinar. Jesse, will we have this available soon and email out to the attendees?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we will do is we will export the recording, we will upload it to YouTube, and then we will share it with all of the attendees, and it will be publicly available to stream on demand whenever you want.
We will have to cut out the first part where I was playing Beyonce in the background, because we will get a YouTube copyright strike.
There you go.
I had that happen on one of our other webinars. That's it. We've gone through the questions again.
Awesome.
We're here. You've got the emails. Please copy and paste that email out of the Q&A section to reach out to our team, so that if Sean can't get to you, one of our other team members can. We're really looking forward to this year and have some fun things that will hopefully be announced, even in addition to these SongShares and the model we have right now. And I guess we can end a little bit early if there's no more questions.
I hope that means we did a great job, maybe. Maybe not.
Well, thank you, everyone. Thanks, Sean. Thanks, Jesse. And
thank you for your time.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.